Emily Davis is my name. I turned 28 on the day my mother prioritized a backyard barbecue over my doctoral graduation. I recall being in a tight bathroom stall at Columbia University, holding my phone wedged between my shoulder and jaw, careful that my crying wouldn't ruin the makeup I had applied myself. Beyond the door, the crowd's subdued roar, a booming voice announcing names, and the static of microphones were all audible. Yet inside, the only sounds were the thudding of blood in my ears and my mother's words. "We already ate, honey." I gazed at the message for an entire minute, unable to fully comprehend it. We already ate. A photograph accompanied it, a lengthy folding table in my parents' yard, laden with platters of ribs and brisket, individuals laughing, holding red Solo cups, and my older brother at the grill, resembling a local luminary. The text beneath read, "So proud of you, the best pit master in the city." No, good luck, Rachel, no, we're on our way. Merely smoke, meat, and a festivity from which I was excluded. My fingers trembled as I pressed the call button. Mom. I struggled to keep my voice even. "You know my ceremony begins in 10 minutes, right?" I could discern music and conversation in the background, the grill sizzling, someone calling out my brother's name. "Oh, honey, don't be so sensitive," she replied, as if I were merely grumbling about the climate. "We're doing something extraordinary for your brother today. He had secured a city food critic. We can view your ceremony via live stream later." I swallowed with difficulty. "It's my doctorate, Mom. 8 years. You assured me you'd be present." A silence followed, then my father's voice intervened, louder and exasperated. "Rachel, don't be dramatic. Your brother also put in considerable effort. We cannot be in multiple places simultaneously." At that instant, something within me broke. I observed my reflection. Cap, gown, honor cords, the existence I had forged without their assistance, and understood that for 28 years, I had been a mere background player in my own family's narrative. That interaction marked the final phone call I made as Emily Davis. Before I recount my subsequent actions and how a single choice transformed my family's cherished barbecue business into the focus of a public scandal, please share. What time is it where you are, and what are you doing while you listen? I'm curious to see the reach of this story compared to the modest backyard where my journey nearly concluded. If you've ever been the diligent one in a family that idolizes another, you're already familiar with how minor injuries accumulate long before the ultimate betrayal. By the time I was in that restroom, I had endured 28 years as the secondary Carter option. My parents constructed their whole identity around the art of smoke and sauce. Carter's Backyard Barbecue was more than just an eatery. It served as our family's central creed. My brother could char a slab of ribs, and my mother would still exclaim with delight, "Look at him, he's a natural." I, on the other hand, brought home science fair awards, full tuition scholarships, and published academic papers. The most I ever received was, "That's lovely, honey. Remember to assist your brother at the cash register this evening." While my brother honed the skill of captivating food bloggers, I mastered plotting infection curves and drafting grant applications. They would boast about his renowned brisket to anyone willing to listen, yet they couldn't recall my dissertation advisor's name. Therefore, that phone conversation wasn't an isolated incident. It was simply the first time I genuinely apprehended what they had always conveyed. "You will never be our main event." I exited that bathroom before I could persuade myself to offer an apology. The event coordinator was already guiding attendees towards the queue that snaked behind the platform. Other graduates gathered with their parents and siblings, adjusting each other's caps, straightening collars, and taking emotional selfies beneath the celebratory banners. I proceeded by myself, clutching my file folder as if it might otherwise float away. One of my peers looked around me and furrowed her brow. "Hey, is your family running late?" I offered that constrained, automatic smile one masters when avoiding a full-life explanation. "They're watching from home." "That sucks," she stated plainly. "You're the most brilliant person in the group. They ought to be in the front row." Her comments struck me deeply because of their stark simplicity and undeniable truth. Has a stranger ever valued you more in a single statement than your own relatives have in years? I occupied my seat, the vacant row of chairs behind me seeming more pronounced than the entire venue. As the dean began announcing names, I heard the roar of applause and pondered, perhaps this is simply my reality. I'll continue my endeavors, and they'll continue barbecuing ribs. Then my name resonated through the loudspeakers. Emily Davis, Doctor of Public Health, Epidemiology, and Data Science. I traversed that stage to courteous cheers from faculty and acquaintances, and none from the individuals whose acceptance I had pursued since I was able to speak. As the dean presented me with my diploma case and leaned in for the photograph, he softly said, "Congratulations, Doctor. Your work is destined to save numerous lives." That was the precise instant something fractured more profoundly than mere wounded emotions. If my investigations possessed the capacity to aid strangers, why was I still exhausting myself striving for recognition from those who hadn't even bothered to appear? Following the ceremony, while other graduating students vanished into a sea of blossoms and embraces, I slipped into a nearby corridor with my mobile. The Carter family group conversation was inundated with images from the barbecue. My brother stood before an enormous banner proclaiming, "Caleb Jenkins, King of Smoke." Relatives' remarks included, "So proud of our star. Can't wait to visit the restaurant." There wasn't a solitary message regarding my academic achievement. My thumb paused above the keyboard, then descended. I accessed an alternative application, one I had saved months prior but lacked the boldness to employ. It was a legal name alteration document. I gazed at the empty sections, then deliberately entered a new name, Chloe Stone. This was a name I had jotted in the margins of my journals for years, the name I consistently imagined I would adopt one day when my true existence began. Remaining there in my doctoral regalia, with my diploma case tucked under my arm and the scent of barbecue almost emanating from my phone's display, I concluded that someday had arrived. As the sun dipped below the horizon on my graduation day, the identity of Emily Davis was already dissipating like smoke. I passed the evening not at an elegant dinner or a family gathering, but at my small apartment's kitchen table, laptop aglow, documents scattered between a frozen pizza and a past-due electricity statement. Not exactly glamorous, I admit. However, there was a profound sanctity in the quiet, no grilling meat, no clinking beer bottles, no family members extolling my brother as their pride and joy, while I refilled their iced tea. Just the soft whir of the refrigerator and the rhythmic tapping of my fingers as I redefined my own being. For those unfamiliar with a legal name change, allow me to explain. It's an unusual blend of administrative procedures and personal renewal. I completed applications, printed an affidavit, and scheduled a courthouse visit. For the reason for change section, I entered personal and professional identity. What I genuinely desired to write was, because I am tired of being merely a background figure in a restaurant advertisement. I shared a single photograph from the ceremony on my private Instagram account. It was a straightforward image of me in my gown, holding my cap, with the stage in the background already partially dismantled. The accompanying text read, "Dr. Lane coming soon." Several friends commented, initially with bewilderment, then with enthusiasm. "Wait, are we altering names now? Dr. Lane sounds like a superhero." One direct message particularly caught my attention. It came from Harper, a friend from graduate school who had relocated to San Francisco a year prior for a role at a health tech startup. "Lane, huh? I like it. Still pursuing that interview with Northwatch Analytics." I had almost overlooked it. Several weeks earlier, I had submitted an application for a position at Northwatch, a firm that utilizes real-time data to identify disease outbreaks before they escalate. They had been impressed by my dissertation on foodborne illness modeling and extended an interview invitation for after graduation. At that point, I had wavered. The prospect of moving from Philadelphia to San Francisco seemed monumental. Abandoning my hometown, the streets of my youth, and the restaurant where I had cleared tables since age 12 felt terrifying. Yet, following that phone call about the barbecue, the choice suddenly felt as vital as breathing. I replied to Harper's message. "Yeah, I'm fully committed." The following morning, I awoke to a pair of notifications. One was from the court, confirming my name change hearing had been set. The second was from Northwatch. We are pleased to formally extend an offer for the senior epidemiological data scientist position, contingent upon your start date. I fixated on the display and let out a raw, incredulous laugh. The cosmos was sending an unmistakable signal. In less than a month, Emily Davis became a mere legal reference, and Dr. Chloe Stone possessed a single journey plane ticket to San Francisco. I informed my parents with minimal fanfare via a concise email. I graduated today. I am changing my name for professional reasons and accepting a job in San Francisco with a public health data company. I wish you all the best with the restaurant. It was courteous, aloof, and utterly dissimilar to the Rachel who had once dispatched 15-paragraph emails detailing her emotions. My mother responded 2 days subsequent. San Francisco, that's quite a distance. We assumed you'd return home to assist Ethan with expanding the business. You know, your brother could truly benefit from your intellect concerning the financial aspects. Anyway, congratulations on your degree. We're occupied preparing for the summer festival. It's a massive chance for him. We'll converse later. My father's input was a simple thumbs-up emoji within the family chat. My brother offered no reply whatsoever. If you have ever yearned for an apology that never materialized, you comprehend precisely the sensation of that void. Consequently, I compressed my existence into 3 suitcases and a single carry-on. On my final evening in the city, I composed a letter that I never sent. Dear Mom and Dad, it commenced. One day you will recognize that your daughter achieved a doctorate and you were absent. One day you will require my assistance, and for the initial time in my life, I am uncertain if I will answer the telephone. I concluded it with Love, Naomi. I folded it and secreted it into the back of my diary. It was not intended for them, it was for me. A definitive boundary. A pledge that I would no longer pursue individuals who would not even traverse a parking area for my sake. As the aircraft ascended from the tarmac and the urban landscape receded below, I observed the lights blend together and mused. All right, Dr. Lane, let's discover who you become when no one refers to you simply as Ethan's sister any longer. San Francisco held no interest in my brother's identity or the number of awards he'd received for his ribs. San Francisco valued data, and that was precisely what I required. Northwatch Analytics spanned 2 levels of a glass edifice with views of the water, featuring entirely open floor plans and whiteboards covered in mathematical formulas. On my inaugural day, my manager, a woman with blue-streaked hair and a constant coffee cup in hand, smiled broadly at me and declared, "Here, we pursue numerical specters. Minor anomalies that alert us to impending trouble before anyone else perceives it. Are you prepared for the pursuit?" Indeed, I was. I immersed myself in torrents of hospital intake records, restaurant inspection findings, social media posts complaining of foodborne illness, and a multitude of other data repositories. Our task involved identifying trends, concentrations of symptoms within communities, and surges in emergency room visits that might indicate the onset of a serious outbreak. I found it profoundly satisfying. It felt akin to solving complex riddles that genuinely had the potential to save lives. For the first time, my worth was quantifiable by something beyond the quantity of plates I could carry during the dinner peak. Several months elapsed. I grew fond of the cool, moist San Francisco mornings. I appreciated how the city's aroma was of rain and coffee, rather than smoke and sauce. I cultivated friendships with colleagues who knew me solely as Naomi, the epidemiologist capable of scrutinizing a spreadsheet until it yielded its hidden truths. When inquiries arose about my family, I offered nebulous replies. We're complicated. One Tuesday afternoon, a notification appeared on my screen, automated alerts from our algorithm. It indicated a modest yet significant aggregation of severe gastrointestinal illnesses spanning 3 adjacent counties. Initially, it seemed like a typical seasonal surge, but the closer I examined it, the more uneasy I became. The symptom onset times were narrow, the symptoms themselves severe, and most troubling, all patients had cited consuming food at the same well-known local chain in their admission records. I extracted the restaurant's name into a separate search and grimaced. Carter Smokehouse, I uttered aloud. For an instant, my mind resisted processing the information. It felt like gazing into a distorted mirror. A different location, but an identical scenario. Everything all right. Harper rolled her chair closer. I angled my screen for her to view the red markers on the map. I believe we've identified a cluster connected to a restaurant chain, I stated cautiously. Have you heard of Jenkins Smokehouse? Are you serious? She scoffed. They just launched an outlet here. People are captivated. Their brisket queue extends around the block. Why? I clicked through additional records, my heart quickening with each progression. Patients detailing bloody diarrhea, vomiting, elevated fevers, and lab results gradually confirming E. coli and salmonella infections. Because, I articulated slowly, if this trend persists, they could be the origin of our outbreak. We adhered to established procedures. I informed my manager, recorded the supporting information, and drafted an initial report for submission to the state health department. It was standard procedure, yet nothing about it felt ordinary to me. Upon returning home that evening, my mind continuously drifted to my parents' kitchen. I recalled countless instances of watching my brother slap raw meat onto a cutting board, then dry his hands on a cloth before reaching for buns from an unsealed bag. How often had I highlighted the cross-contamination, only to be met with, "This is our customary method, Rachel. Cease overthinking every detail." With each passing day, the indicators on my display proliferated. Additional hospitals, more patients, increasing references to Carter Smokehouse. The state health department contacted us, requesting a more thorough examination and all our corroborating data. We were no longer discussing minor digestive discomforts. This was a full-blown epidemic. One night, I awoke drenched in a cold sweat, my phone's screen illuminating the darkness above me. On an impulse, I accessed the Carter family group chat, which I hadn't viewed in months. The most recent photograph depicted my brother positioned before a banner proclaiming, "Coming soon, Jenkins Smokehouse West Coast Tour." The caption stated, "Proud of our boy winning the Grand National." My mother had added, "No one prepares barbecue like a Carter." Gazing at that image, I grasped a realization that unsettled my stomach more intensely than any food poisoning ever could. If the chain had grown this rapidly, the outbreak I was investigating might merely be the precursor. There arrives a juncture when you possess knowledge capable of disrupting your own family's existence, a moment when every aspect of your being attempts to voice its perspective concurrently. The dutiful daughter urges, contact them, alert them, offer them an opportunity to discreetly resolve it. The scientist asserts, that's not how public health functions. Individuals are already ill. Some are children. The wounded inner child queries, they prioritized a barbecue over your doctorate. Are you truly prepared to jeopardize your career to safeguard them? I wish I could claim I promptly heeded the correct counsel. I did not. For a week, I was submerged in hypotheticals. Throughout the day, I refined our predictive models, constructed more lucid visual aids for the health department, and participated in discussions with epidemiologists who employed terms such as alarming and substantial liability. In the evenings, I gazed at my ceiling, reflecting on the numerous birthday celebrations where I had operated the grill instead of attending, solely to support the family. The choice became definitively clear the day we received a phone call from a pediatric ICU doctor. He sought access to our information because he had 3 children in critical condition, all afflicted with the same E. coli strain and sharing a common factor. Each had consumed food at Jenkins Smokehouse within the preceding week. I concluded that call, proceeded directly to my manager's office, and closed the door. "I need to make a disclosure," I stated, my hands feeling damp. "I possess a personal link to the restaurant chain." Her eyebrows elevated sharply. "In what capacity?" "My parents are the proprietors of the initial establishment," I explained. "My brother currently manages the business." There it was, exposed like an open wound. She remained unfazed. Understood. Thank you for informing me. This implies two things. Firstly, you are disqualified from making any policy recommendations from this point onward, ensuring no conflict of interest. Secondly, I will pose a question to you as an individual, not as your superior. Are they aware of the situation? No, I confessed, we are not close. Do you wish to inform them? I considered the children in the ICU, my brother's triumphant grin before banners, his boasting about being the king of smoke, and my parents' proud assertions that no one had ever fallen ill from our food whenever I attempted to discuss safe cooking temperatures. I want them to face repercussions, I articulated deliberately. If I contact them, it will not be for their protection. It will be to offer them a chance to act responsibly before state intervention compels them. She assented. Then call as a daughter, we will continue our responsibilities. That evening, I dialed my parents' number, a first in nearly a year. My mother answered on the second ring, her tone warm and vibrant. Naomi, or are we supposed to still call you Rachel? Naomi is fine, I stated tersely. I don't have much time. I need to discuss the restaurant with you. If this is about your refusal to return home to help, your father already said. It's not, I interjected. Have there been any accounts of individuals becoming severely ill after dining there? She paused. Well, there were a couple of online complaints. Your brother claims they're just detractors attempting to lower his rating. Why? My heart tightened. Because I'm employed by a company that monitors disease outbreaks, and we've identified a cluster that directly implicates Carter Smokehouse. People are in the hospital, Mom. Children. A lengthy silence followed, then a dismissive sound. My father's voice emerged in the background. Is that Naomi? Put me on speaker. A click. Then his blunt voice resonated through my compact San Francisco kitchen. You're accusing your own family's enterprise of poisoning people now, after all our efforts to build this from nothing. I'm not accusing, I clarified carefully. I'm relaying what the data indicates. You need to cease operations, at least temporarily, and cooperate with health inspectors. Sanitize everything. Retrain staff. Verify your suppliers. If you act proactively, you might circumvent. We are not shutting down, he retorted sharply. Do you have any comprehension of the impact that would have on our reputation, on your brother's reservations? We have a city festival approaching. He's the featured act. This is his moment. There it was again, his moment. Not the children in the ICU. Not the dozens of hospitalized patrons. His moment. If you don't, I stated softly, the state will compel you. They already possess our reports. This isn't merely a call from your daughter. It's a warning from someone who genuinely understands the potential severity of this situation. My brother's voice then erupted into the conversation, loud and disbelieving. Is this genuinely about you being angry we missed your small ceremony? You're going to sabotage my company over wounded feelings. It was a doctorate, I retorted, finally losing my composure. And I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm attempting to prevent harm to people. He laughed, bitter and incredulous. You always believed your books and figures were more significant than actual life. Real life, I echoed. Real life is a mother seated beside her child's hospital bed because you couldn't be bothered to verify your meat thermometer. Enough, my father barked. We are not pursuing this discussion. You attend to your professional duties and we will attend to our business, but do not expect our gratitude if you assist in tarnishing our name. The connection went dead. I remained, the phone still against my ear, hearing only silence. Have you ever witnessed someone prioritize their pride over the most straightforward path to resolution? On that evening, I gave up any expectation that my family would become the individuals I required. The following morning, I reached out to a public interest legal firm known for its expertise in whistleblower claims. Should the Carters wish to wage a battle pitting evidence against evasion, they were about to discover the repercussions of underestimating the reserved individual who once restocked sauce bottles while they claimed all recognition. State authorities acted with greater speed than my parents had ever anticipated. In under a fortnight, Investigators had discreetly visited several Carter Smokehouse branches, collected specimens, questioned employees, and linked further laboratory findings. What had previously appeared as merely a collection of red points on my display was now formally recognized as an outbreak. Local television channels broadcast reports advising patrons of Jenkins Smokehouse to watch for potential symptoms. My brother reacted characteristically, with overconfidence. He uploaded a video of himself positioned before the main restaurant. He wore an apron with a grill ablaze behind him. "Food safety is something we treat with the utmost seriousness at Jenkins Smokehouse," he declared, exhibiting his polished, broadcast-ready smile. "Our own family dines here. Don't credit every report you encounter in the media. Critics will always criticize, yet we are not departing." Numerous likes, heart-shaped emoticons, comments like, "You tell them, chef." From my San Francisco office, I viewed the footage, a rancid flavor in my mouth. My supervisor paused beside my workspace. The health department requires us to continue observing social media discussions. She remarked, "Rumors suggest the company is attempting to portray this as a malicious campaign." "Naturally," I murmured. The coincidence of the subsequent occurrence struck me as a cruel jest. 1 week subsequent to that video, my mother dispatched an electronic mail to my private address, titled, "Thanksgiving." Within, she composed, "We recognize tensions have been high, but kinship endures. Might you consider returning home for Thanksgiving? It would also serve as positive public relations, demonstrating our solidarity. Ethan is orchestrating a large community barbecue that day in lieu of a customary meal. Municipal representatives, journalists, and online writers will be present, a significant prospect. Please come and lend your support to your brother. Perhaps we can converse." I must have scrutinized that message 24 times. Good PR, not "We long for your presence." Not "We are apprehensive about this contagion and regret not heeding your warnings." They sought to exploit my attendance, my advanced degree, and my flourishing new existence as mere accessories in their quest for rehabilitation. A segment of me wished to press delete and permanently disengage. A different facet, the one that had altered her surname and relocated nationwide, perceived an opportune moment. If one desires those who constructed their dominion upon public perception to confront reality, what superior setting exists than a platform they themselves established? My reply confirmed, "I will attend." On Thanksgiving, the heavens above my native town presented a dull, chilly gray characteristic of skies that caused smoke to linger close to the thoroughfares. My return marked my first visit since the graduation debacle. Approaching Carter Smokehouse evoked the sensation of entering a historical archive. The identical red checkered table coverings, the identical luminous pig emblem, the identical aroma of hickory and seasonings. However, novel elements were also present. Placards proclaiming dedication to safety, dispensers for hand sanitizers, employees adorned in branded gloves, all mere facade, utterly omitting the hospital admissions that had necessitated these alterations. My brother noticed me from the temporary platform erected in the parking area. He was clad in a personalized chef's jacket featuring his name embroidered in script. "Naomi, you arrived." He proclaimed loudly into the microphone, drawing me into a partial embrace. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is my sister, the physician. She is present to demonstrate that genuine scientific principles align with our position." The assembly offered polite applause. I retreated, my impulse to express disdain almost irresistible. My mother hovered behind him, murmuring, "Just exhibit a pleasant expression, dear. Allow photographs to be taken. This holds great significance for us." "Does it hold importance for the families in intensive care?" I inquired softly. Her expression hardened. "You are truly resolved to sabotage this, aren't you?" "No," I stated. "My resolve is to speak truthfully." The gathering commenced, resembling a distorted celebration. Complimentary tastings, live musical performances, local dignitaries exchanging greetings, media cameras circulating. My brother paraded, interjecting expressions such as baseless accusations, and we successfully passed all our inspections into each discussion with reporters. I observed, my arms crossed, until my phone vibrated with a message from an unfamiliar contact. "We will arrive in 10 minutes." It was from the state health investigator, with whom I had been collaborating via the legal firm. We had furnished information, chronological records, and internal paperwork indicating that Jenkins Smokehouse had received warnings, yet deliberately continued full-scale operations. Upon the health department's decision to issue formal closure mandates, they inquired, "Would you like to be in attendance?" I replied, "Yes, not for vindictive satisfaction, nor for theatrical effect, but because I required my family to witness my countenance when the repercussions of their decisions ultimately manifested." A mere 10 minutes subsequently, the music ceased abruptly mid-tune. A small group of officials, clad in suits and state-branded outerwear, advanced toward the stage, accompanied by cameras. The assembly murmured, perplexed. My brother's grin wavered. "Ah, it appears we have some distinguished visitors," he quipped feebly. The chief investigator approached the microphone, clutching a substantial folder filled with documents. "Good afternoon," she began. "I am present representing the State Health Department following an extensive inquiry into the recent multi-regional outbreak of E. coli and Salmonella. We have concluded that Jenkins Smokehouse serves as a primary origin. With immediate effect, all Jenkins Smokehouse venues are mandated to suspend operations until further communication. Noncompliance will incur supplementary penalties and potential criminal prosecution." One could sense the atmosphere being drawn out of the parking area. Individuals gasped. A person exclaimed, "My child fell ill here." Another voice cried, "I was right." My mother turned ashen. "Surely there's an error," she stuttered, advancing towards the investigator. "We operate a family enterprise. We would never." The woman's countenance remained firm. "Madam, we possess laboratory findings, staff depositions, and recorded alerts that were disregarded." She then looked beyond my mother, directly at me. "Furthermore, we have independent analytical assessments that facilitated swift tracing. Due to these, we might have averted more hospital admissions." My brother wheeled on me ferociously. "You are responsible for this," he seethed. "No microphone now, only unbridled rage. You summoned them here." "No," I stated placidly, my tone unwavering in a manner it had never achieved during family meals. "Your insufficient food safety protocols drew them here. I merely declined to ignore the situation." "We are your kin," my mother wailed. "How could you align with outsiders against us?" I surveyed the multitude. Parents embracing their children, journalists furiously noting, employees conversing in hushed tones. "Those individuals, whom you term strangers, relied on you not to sicken them," I asserted. "You regarded that trust as expendable. You neglected my doctoral graduation for a barbecue, and now your barbecue is the cause why another's child might never complete any form of education." For once, no immediate retort was offered. "No, you're being melodramatic." "No, cease your overstatement." Just 3 Carters on a platform, ultimately overwhelmed by undeniable facts. The repercussions precisely matched my parents' worst fears and were the direct outcome of their decision to disregard every caution. In a matter of weeks, Carter Smokehouse dominated news coverage, and not for my brother's renowned brisket. Headlines blared about a cherished local establishment connected to an outbreak, families seeking redress, and long-standing unaddressed safety concerns. With additional employees speaking out, narratives shattered the facade of family-oriented principles. Supervisors instructed staff to serve undercooked meat. Pressure mounted to maintain operational pace even when employees identified contaminated goods. Cleaning protocols were compromised to economize. Numerous civil lawsuits accumulated. The health department imposed penalties so severe they resembled demolition fees. My brother forfeited his endorsement agreements, his television culinary segment, and his food festival engagements. Accolades previously showcased within display cases on the restaurant wall were discreetly removed after organizers rescinded them following an ethical assessment. My parents were compelled to divest 2 of the 3 properties acquired during prosperous years simply to cover legal expenses. Should you anticipate me expressing satisfaction at observing these events, the intricate reality is as follows. I did not experience the straightforward, triumphant elation of cinematic vengeance. What I felt was a sensation more profound and burdensome, a somber sense of relief that the world was at last governed by principles I comprehended. Choices bore repercussions. Disregarded admonitions incurred expenditures. My data was never merely digits on a display, it represented human existences. And now, this truth was evident to all. The whistleblower action proceeded discreetly because I had meticulously documented every detail and declared my conflict of interest at an early stage. Not only was I safeguarded, but I was also entitled to a share of the fines collected from the corporation due to our prompt discovery. Eventually, an email from the legal firm contained a sum so substantial that I had to blink thrice before I could accept its authenticity. This amount surpassed any wealth I had ever envisioned possessing under my own designation. Not my siblings, not my parents, mine. I contemplated purchasing an opulent vehicle or another grand emblem of achievement. However, I undertook an action that would have brought my adolescent self to tears of disbelief. I initiated a nonprofit organization, the Line Cook Project, a foundation providing complimentary food safety education, legal aid, and whistleblower assistance for hourly restaurant employees who observed unsafe procedures, but were too fearful to vocalize their concerns. We collaborated with Northwatch to ensure our instructional content was evidence-based and readily available. We conducted seminars across several states. We aided employees in submitting anonymous reports when their superiors instructed them to serve undercooked poultry or forgo replenishing sanitizers. We generated awareness where prior silence had contributed to public illness. The paradox did not escape my notice. The very enterprise that had regarded me as uncompensated labor was now inadvertently bankrolling an initiative designed to shield other workers from employers resembling my family. My parents attempted to contact me on several occasions. Initially, I allowed the calls to divert to voicemail. My mother's voicemails oscillated between indignation and supplication. "How could you do this to us?" Morphed into, "We remain your parents." Then into, "We simply wish to converse." My father left a singular message that sent shivers down my spine. "You ruined your brother. Are you content now, doctor? You consistently perceived yourself as superior to this family." I did not return their calls. What possible insight could I offer that reality had not already unveiled to them? Several months subsequently, I received a physical letter via post, genuine paper bearing my name inscribed in my mother's flowing script, Dr. Chloe Stone. Within, she conveyed that they were permanently shuttering the initial Carter smokehouse, that they had suffered near total loss, that my brother was withdrawn from communication, was consuming excessive alcohol, and believed the world had forsaken him. Ultimately, in a single sentence penned toward the bottom, she conceded, "Perhaps we ought to have heeded you sooner. Perhaps we should have attended your commencement ceremony." I contemplated that letter for an extended period. Not due to any healing it provided, it offered none. No genuine apology was present, nor any comprehension of the numerous years they had subjected me to treatment akin to a minor performer in the Caleb Jenkins spectacle. Rather, it validated what I had needed to ascertain ever since I entered that restroom stall in my doctoral robes. My decision to prioritize myself was correct. In due course, I composed a brief reply. "I am sorry for the suffering everyone is enduring." It was never my intention for individuals to be harmed, but harm was already occurring. I opted to support them instead of safeguarding a falsehood. I hope that, in time, you will grasp this. I am amenable to discussions characterized by honesty and accountability. I am not amenable to feigning that none of this transpired. Sincerely, Naomi. I received no further communication, And for the inaugural time in my existence, the quiet did not register as a penalty. It registered as tranquility. This is the wisdom I wish someone had imparted to me at 18, back when I cleaned sauce from restaurant tables and harbored grander aspirations. Familial ties do not grant immunity to inflict harm without repercussion. Family is not a magical utterance that nullifies injury. Affection that necessitates your diminishment is not love, it is manipulation. Your inherent value is not quantified by the fervor of your parents' applause at your accomplishments, nor by whether your siblings' successes outshine your own. Your worth resides in the silent tenacity of your endeavors, the probity of your decisions, and the bravery required to depart when remaining signifies self-betrayal or the betrayal of others. I did not dismantle my family's enterprise out of malice. I illuminated a kitchen they adamantly claimed was pristine, even as patrons became ill from their offerings. By taking that action, I at last emerged from the shadows and into my authentic existence. So, if you are hearing this and reflecting on the myriad instances you have been rendered imperceptible, at meals where your dish remains untouched while others receive accolades, at commencements where no one appears for you, in occupations where your concepts are utilized, yet your identity is omitted from recognition. Heed this. You are permitted to cease pursuing individuals who decline to acknowledge you. You are permitted to select your own surname, your own metropolis, your own purpose. You are permitted to declare, I will not remain silent merely because we share genetic material. And should anyone ever accuse you of being theatrical for seeking fundamental deference, recall this. Those who profit from your quietude will invariably label your honesty as an excessive reaction. Utter it regardless. Another's existence may rely upon it, especially your own. I appreciate your attention. To be frank, I deeply admire Naomi. She did not merely wallow in her anguish and perpetually remain the neglected offspring. She leveraged her academic background, her proficiencies, and her fortitude to safeguard blameless individuals, even when it necessitated confronting her own relatives. That is not malevolence, that is valor. She did not sabotage their lives for amusement. She simply declined to remain mute while others suffered injury. Now, I invite your input. Were you in Naomi's predicament, would you have publicized the restaurant's wrongdoing or maintained discretion out of familial allegiance? And have you ever faced a dilemma requiring a choice between ethical conduct and preserving harmony with a beloved individual? Share your narrative in the comments section.